Hello everyone, this is Effie here. Today I made this card using our large and beautiful Dahlia Bouquet stamp set. This is a 6x6 clear set with a large image of this beautiful Dahlia Bouquet. So I started off by rose gold heat embossing this image right onto some watercolor paper. I'm using Canson XL 140-pound paper, and I'm using our rose gold embossing powder. After I've spooned on the powder, I'm just gonna hit the whole panel with my heat tool, melting all that gorgeous powder. Then I'm gonna start watercoloring using my Ken Oliver color burst. I start off by wetting the area that I want to paint with some clean water, and I'm using 2 fine tip Pentel Aqua brushes to paint. I use one brush to apply pigment, and then I use the second brush to blend the pigment out. That second brush stays clean. I never dip that second brush into the pigment. So after I start dropping in bits of fuchsia color burst, I kind of start from the inner portions of my larger dahlia in this bouquet, and I drop in the pigment, and then I blend that color out to the outer edges of the petal. And I'm making sure that the color kind of radiates from the center of the floral. Now I'm going to apply the same watercoloring wet and wet technique to several of the dahlias. Now, not all of the dahlias will be painted the same fuchsia hue. I'm only going to paint about maybe 3 or 4 of the dahlias the same color, and then I'm going to switch off and paint some of the other dahlias using my Orchid color burst. And then I actually also use some Marigold color burst for 2 of the smaller dahlia buds that are at the edges of my bouquet. I want a little bit more variety in color for this bouquet, and I think when you add about 2 to 3 different colors for such a large image, I think it adds a little bit more interest. So as I watercolor each dahlia, I'm making sure that there are some really dark areas and then some really light areas, and also some white areas. I'm not coloring the entire dahlia with my color burst. I'm making sure to leave a little bit of the white space of the paper showing through. So I painted about 4 dahlias each in the fuchsia and orchid color burst. After I finish with these colors, I go on and I paint about maybe 3 of the other dahlias in alizarin crimson. Now when you first paint using the alizarin crimson, you're going to kind of think that the alizarin crimson and the fuchsia look very similar, maybe almost identical, but you're going to see more of a differentiation in color once the paint dries. When I first used these color bursts and I was swatching them out, I thought that some of red or warmer tones looked almost identical when you first paint them, but then you're gonna see that once your paint dries on the paper, there is a differentiation in color, and they are very, very beautiful. I love my color bursts. I am not paid to say this. I was not given any product. I purchased everything on my own, and I just really love the product. So you see me using them in a lot of my videos. So after I finish painting most of the blooms, I'm going to go ahead and use my olive green color burst to paint all the foliage. You have some beautiful eucalyptus images in this bouquet. I also have some leaves in the background, and I'm just going to add drops of the olive green. So once I finish with the foliage, I'm going to go ahead and paint the urn vase a Naples yellow. And after I finished with the vase, I added a little bit of shadows to the base of that vase. But I wasn't happy with that bright yellow of the vase, so I added some sepia color burst to give it kind of more of a gold tone. And I actually had pronounced sepia as sepia in a prior video, and someone did correct me that the correct pronunciation is sepia. So I apologize for that. Again, I am not classically trained, so the correct pronunciation is sepia and alizarin crimson. Once I finished with most of the painting, I actually did go back and just added a little bit more of a darker shading of some of the fuchsia dahlias, and I just kind of went in with more of a dry brush dipped in the pigment, and I added a little bit to the centers of one of the dahlias and blended the color out just a tiny bit to add a little bit more of the darker shading to that floral. Then I trimmed my dried panel to 4¼ by 5½, which is the A2 size, and then I adhered that painted panel onto a side folding A2 base using some strong double-sided adhesive. Next, I stamped the sentiment from the same stamp set using our Noir Dye ink onto white cardstock. Then I created an actual sentiment strip by just cutting that portion out. Then I created a similar strip using some of our glossy fine gold adhesive paper, which I have already adhered onto cardstock, creating my own glitter cardstock. After I popped my sentiment up, I added some of our Medallion gold sequins to finish off the card, and my project is now complete. I hope you all enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel because I update it on a weekly basis. So thanks so much for watching. I will see you next time.